Day five mediocrity and 0 to 100k, of course, k per month that is. Today's been a bit of a tough day, man. Uh, I started the day with, I started the day on like really low sleep. I think I went to bed at like 4:30. Then woke. I think I went to bed at like 5, and then woke up at like 15 minutes to 9. If you ask me, it's very stupid, and I know that. But I got some really good work done last night, and I felt really productive. I was in the zone. I'm currently trying to film this even earlier, so I can get myself in a better routine and hopefully go to bed earlier tonight and kick tomorrow. Well, yeah, kick tomorrow. Running well. Shit, I don't know, but nonetheless, that was the start of my day. And then after I had my meeting in the morning, I had two meetings. Then I went to bed. Man, I went to bed for a nap, and then I woke up to some pretty sad news. To be fair, there's been another passing in my family, which is yeah, it's just really shit if I'm honest, and it's a shame, and all I can do at this stage is be really positive, and well, I can be more than that, but I can have an outlook that puts me in a position where I can appreciate the time and all of the things that that person gave to myself and those around me, and what joy they brought to all of our lives, and how great it was knowing them. So yeah, it was a bit sad, and it's been a bit of a heavy one to start the week with, but this is life, and these things will happen. It's not even that they can happen, they just will happen. And growing up, I'm at that stage, I guess, in adulthood where a lot of the people that I used to think were going to be here forever are passing. Um, it's a really big shame, but I think this is another part of growing up, and what can you do? You can only keep moving, and it's very sad. And I hope everyone else in that side of the family are holding up together. So there's that. Once I did pull myself from, you know, being a bit down, it's Monday, and unfortunately, in my position, I don't really get much time to just have a breather. It feels I can do, but it comes at a cost. And today was a very heavily scheduled day. And yeah, once I started working, what were we focused on? So yeah, I'm trialing out one of like our ex students who's offered to do some work for like some VA work. As like there's some things that I just need sorting out, which would be super duper helpful. They're currently completing some tasks. We'll see how that goes, and whether it's something that's viable in future, God knows. But yeah, we're started, and so far so good. I'm pretty happy with how things are currently going, and it freed up a lot of time. If I had to do that on top of like receiving the news, I think it would have been a really stressful, like really, really stressful day. But yeah, that's allowed me to have a bit more of a clear head and focus on some other tasks. Now, I taught today. I'm still teaching cohorts, and I'm helping people learn design myself. So currently, people are being instructed by me. Outside of that, I had a few sales calls, so sales calls are going well. In the past, like last week, I realized I like kind of messed up a bit, where I started having conversations directly over the phone. For what we sell, given the price point and the level of investment that's required, if I'm going to communicate with someone and I have to get on the phone with them, I think being on Zoom is easier. Being on anything face to face, the rapport's better. The overall feeling is much better, and it's less like, yes, we're selling, but at the same time we are also prospecting and letting them know that we're real people. I feel like when you have a conversation with someone over the phone because they're a lead, it puts you in a position where you've got to fight for their attention, and sometimes they may be doing other things. And last week was one of those moments where I realized how hard it is to sell over the phone. I have done it in the past for jobs before, and I felt the pressures then, but oh man, yeah, being on Zoom and having all like Google Hangouts and having something that somebody actually wants, and being able to have a one-to-one conversation where both of you are, have given each other like respect and attention, that's necessary to at least come to a resolution, is so much better. Now, that's not to say anything bad about the people I spoke to last week, but yeah, in some of those scenarios, it was quite difficult to even feel like I was delivering good value. I feel like I was at a deficit off the back, and that's my fault. I know that I could have scheduled meetings, virtual meetings, and that could have been a much easier conversation, or it would have been a better flowing conversation. That's something that you live and you learn with. In the past, we've always done it virtually, but for some reason, I went the other way, experimented, and that data is proven to not be as valuable to me. And I guess, well, the data is don't go that route. Yeah, over the phone is much harder than online or even in person. So, not going to do that anymore. Learned my lesson. Outside of that, I spent most of my day just thinking, to be fair. I spent a lot of my day thinking. I'm going to do some work tonight, to be fair, before I go to sleep. I'm going to focus on building out some case study work. I've been listening to, what's his name, Russell Brunson, and he mentioned a really good point in terms of building your lead funnels. And one of them is making sure case studies are as easy as possible to see, and then have a funnel of value drivers on top of that, which you can deliver on. So I'm going to be working on doing some work there. I've already got some basic stuff that's all that we've started. I just need to improve on it, if I'm completely honest, and that's completely on me. I also there's a person I need to get back to from Twitter direct messages, but they've even given some feedback. A lot of it I can see how I could see how it's valid, and there are some tweaks that I've been wanting to do to the website. I've just not prioritized it, if I'm completely honest, and tonight's the night to neaten those up. I will hopefully get an ad campaign running as well, and that would be amazing if I can get a good ad running and put it out. Oh shit, I also need to get back to some emails. Fuck. Yeah, I remembered that. Well, as you can see, it's it's 1 a.m. and I'm not remembering stuff that I probably should have done like 48 hours ago. Welcome to my life, my chaotic life, where I'm always fighting, fighting mediocrity. It's beautiful, right? Yeah, what was I thinking about, man? I was thinking about how there was. I don't know why I didn't write this down. I'm kicking myself now because I actually had a lot I wanted to say about a specific topic. What was it? Yesterday we spoke about having a chip on your shoulder. Today, it's the whole, I think it was using fear as a tool. Now, I may not be the most eloquently spoken person, but this is how I see it. I think for any person who wants to fight mediocrity or go against their own adversities to seek betterment in life, regardless of whether it's work, professional, personal, whatever it is, I feel like you've got to be in a position where you will be fearful, or there will be some natural angst. Nobody's completely without. But when you have that feeling, I feel like some of us are capable and have practiced using that feeling for good, and a lot of people should start tapping into it. Now, what do I mean by that? So growing up, I had a lot of anxiety issues, a lot. And with therapy, I eventually learned that I was born into a very unstable situation through nobody's fault of their own. I was born into a scenario where there was a natural disaster that occurred on my home island. So that's just what it is, right? But I was born at a time where there was a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and through growing up and experiencing even more anxiety, eventually it came to a point where I had therapy, and I've had I've had countless hours of therapy. But two of my therapists both identified that to be a very big instance in understanding who I am, and also why I may be highly susceptible to anxiety disorders, and also like depressive episodes or episodes of depression. Now, I don't really feel like I experience depression a fair bit, but it's something that I'm aware that can happen. Um, yeah, I wouldn't call myself a down person or anything like that. That being said, I have spent most of my life being scared, if I'm completely honest, being fearful. And what am I fearful of? Honestly, it's so friggin' stupid. I've got health anxiety. For some weird reason, my brain wants to catastrophize situations whenever I feel something, and that's just life for someone like me. But a lot of people might have social anxiety, there's generalized anxiety disorder, there is so much that you can experience. And growing up, it was kind of weird experiencing this because I used to think I thought that there was something wrong with me, and I felt like it was a massive blocker to me experiencing things like friendships, certain friendships, me going out, doing certain things, socializing. I feel like it got in the way of me participating in certain sports, trying to pursue certain ventures from an athletic standpoint, and things of that nature. So it really held me back. Like, if you could think of what an anxious person looked like, that was me. I spent a lot of time going. Literally throughout my whole years of college, I think I was in the doctor's office like twice a week, just because I felt something, and I would be on edge. I'd be scared, and honestly, it was a shit time. It was a time that built a lot of character, but it was a really shit time. I speak to some of my friends about this sort of stuff. I don't experience anxiety in the same way as I once did, so thankfully, like, we're all good there. If in case I've worried you, but at the same time, this is something that has been ongoing since I was like 14. 14, that's when I really felt it and it kicked in. And for me, I was aware of my own mortality. So I'm now scared of dying. I'm 14 years old, and I've realized you won't live forever, and like, life is finite because I experienced a shit ton of anxiety. So that's what happens. That's my story, right? Now, knowing that and knowing everything I've just explained, in the sense of me being scared of living, me being scared of pursuing things, I would literally talk myself out of a lot of things, and I have done over and over and over again. Things that I wouldn't say I regret, but I kind of feel sorry for myself a little bit, and it's a shame I missed out on them. But at the same time, this is just my path, and this is where I'm at, right? When I say leaning into fear, I think when things started changing for me is maybe 22 onwards, right? Around 22 onwards, I think I just got fed up. I had a really rough time when I was living in London. The second time, living in London at University of Arts London, studying, which I dropped out of. I'll get to another day. But I had a really tough time, and I experienced a lot of isolation. Being a northerner that didn't really understand that I was on the autistic spectrum, and sometimes it can be hard to fit in with people and make friends, because I just, yeah, whatever. For whatever reason, I'm not like socially awkward, but I just find it hard sometimes if I don't click with someone, or I don't feel like we are on the same wavelength. Cliche as hell, I know, but shit, it was my problem, innit? And I felt down, basically. That's what happened. I felt really down. And yeah, with that, I feel like in that period of time, I was just so fed up of living and feeling sorry for myself. I felt so fucking sorry for myself so often. It was debilitating. And for me, that was probably the lowest point I've had like second to lowest, or maybe the lowest point I've had as an adult. But what ended up happening was, I can't say that there was a magical book that changed all this, or like there was a magical podcast. I feel like I spent a lot of time just starting to just wanting, just honestly having, you know how I mentioned chip, having a chip on your shoulder in yesterday's conversation or journal, whatever it is. Yeah, like at this time, at this point, I just had a chip on my shoulder. I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. I wanted to be someone who I believe I could be, or someone who didn't have to suffer or experience the things that I was going through. So at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, fuck that. I'm not that guy. I'm really not going to feel sorry for myself. And I will refute anything that makes me feel like I'm a victim in my own head and in my own world. And at that point, I was just fighting. I was using my fear as a fuel because I was so scared while I was going through all of this, if I'm completely honest. And it feels irrational to say out loud now. But at the same time, when you're dealing with these types of scenarios, like they can drive you insane. They drove me to some really dark places. And I'm not scared to say it, and I'm not afraid to say that. Like I've been, I've been in a position where it's felt like there wasn't much to live for, and yeah, it's happened, and it's happened to other people, and I know the people that's happened to, especially other men, and it's kind of frustrating because at the same time when you're going through something like that, a lot of you I don't know, it's kind of feels like a handicap if you tell people, but at the same time you've got friends that may be going through something similar and they also feel the same way, and it's only until like you end up having a weird scenario that you might say it or might allude to it. But yeah, that was what happened. But I was using at that point where there was a turning point where I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be scared of being to living. Like I just can't. I couldn't care less. That's what happened. I couldn't care less. And in that, I didn't want to give in to my fears. I wanted to use my fears as fuel to do to do the same thing that I was scared of. And I think when it comes to dealing with anything like mental health related or like anxiety related or fearful, the biggest thing I would advise or I care to say is it's accepting. You need to accept whatever is happening is fucking happening, whether you like it or not. That's just what it is, right? That being said, once you accept it, it's much easier for you to think about the whole situation logically and actually put things in place that make sense, as opposed to keeping a lot of pent up energy and holding on to that, hoping that the feeling will stop going away. Because I'll tell you now, the feeling doesn't stop going away until you can accept whatever's going on is going to be a part of your human experience. And it's a shame, but that's just reality, right? Some people, it's not about some people. In my scenario, the reason why I experienced a lot of anxiety from, say, 13, 14 till 22, 23 was simply because I didn't want to accept that sometimes my heart skips a beat, or sometimes I get really lightheaded or whatever. And most of these, like the lightheaded thing, that was just because I usually eat one meal a day, or I might eat 2 meals a day. If I'm not going to the gym, I'm like terrible diet wise. And it's a stupid thing, but I know that I'm the problem in that scenario. But the other part of like palpitations, shit like that, it's just anxiety for the most part. It's just part of the human experience. And when I started accepting that, it became easier to come to terms with the fact that this thing happens and it didn't hold the same sort of power or gravity on me. And being in that position, it's weird because you start working and every day it does feel like you're pushing a boulder up the hill, and it doesn't really feel like it gets better until one day you just forget about the fact that you felt sorry for yourself. You forget about those fears that you had. You forget about being scared, and you no longer use the fear as fuel anymore because you don't have that fear. You may have you may have a small percent or small like minority side of it, but it stops really holding the same sort of weight over your life, and you can do so much more once you're on the other side and you feel like you're so much more. Before you know it, your head clears, you feel less of the fog, and yeah, it just gets better. And for me, that was a big part of how I started looking at using fear. And seeing it as a power and seeing it as fuel, if anything, because at the end of the day, we all have some fear, but some of us allow it to cripple us, and some of us will want to meet it head on, accept it, and move on with it and use it as fuel for trying to be better. For me, I started doing things that my fear once held me back from, and after doing them and realizing, oh, well, I'm still alive, like, shit, well, I'm all right. I did that, and yeah, I just kept on moving, and things started getting better. I can't emphasize how many opportunities I missed in life, like professionally and just in other scenarios. So, for instance, I want to move to the US. I want to move to the US right now. I'm 27, going to be 28 in January. I want to move to the US because I feel like there's going to be a lot of opportunities to network with other people that dream as big as I might, and they might want to meet. Well, they've got a better entrepreneurial culture, things are bigger, there are more opportunities to build a bigger business and build a massive company if that's my thing at that time. But there's just so much more out there, right? I think at like 19 or 20, I wanted to go to the US to try visit Silicon Valley, but I was scared. I was scared of what would happen if I felt crippled with anxiety. Man, I let that opportunity pass up. So that's been what, 8 years, 9 years, and that crippled a lot of potential progression or opportunities that could have came from being in being in the epicenter of the world that I wanted to be in. So yeah, like that's the sort of stuff that I feel like it's got in the way of. It's funny now because I've now like come to terms and done all the work on myself, and I've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, I really don't want to be here anymore, in the UK. I want to go explore that place. I want to go and do the things that I think I'm capable of in a domain or an arena that I think is going to take to my work even better than where I'm currently at. No offense to the UK, but it's just not slapping like that. Can't lie. So yeah, that's where my head's at with that sort of thing. There's not much more than I've got. I don't feel like I've got much more to say today. I think the topic that I even dived into is a bit heavy, but it's an honest one. And one of the benefits and the beauties of, I guess, documenting this whole 0 to 100K a month. Yeah, I couldn't give a damn about the number so much in terms of whatever. One of the things that comes with documenting this is I get to just speak to myself. It's an honest account of who I am, what's in my head. I can't remember who said this. Oh, it must have been in a podcast that I've listened to. But I think it's Daniel Priestley, to be fair. But someone said we're in a very unique position in society and technology where in the past I don't know what my great grandparents sounded like. I don't know what my great 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 grandparents looked like, or what their names were, or what they were up to, what they thought, how they approached life, who they really were. And today, one of the amazing things is we've got the internet, and you lot are watching me, and hopefully, if I'm fortunate enough to have children or even my nephews as they grow up, one day they'll be able to see the sorts of thoughts and things that I went through to hopefully amass amazing achievements for people and myself, and to make my family proud. I hope that they can see what it takes, what it took, what I went through, and how I felt about things. I don't know why. Maybe again, maybe I just don't want to feel alone. But who doesn't? Who does, right? But yeah, maybe like we're in a unique position where I can imagine 2, 3 generations, 5 generations. Someday they might do some sort of work on their ancestors, and I could be the person who kick-started something for my lineage. Maybe not, because maybe the world's gonna end before then. Who knows? Who friggin' knows? But yeah, that's how it feels, and that's all cool. That's what I'm leaving you lot with. Please be safe. Drink some water. I need to drink more water because my skin's like shit. Oh man. I look like Krusty the Clown right now. What's that guy called in Game of Thrones? Is it Sir Jorah Mormon or some shit like that, where he got bit by the thing and got leprosy and his skin just turned really weird? Yeah, I feel like that, man. These days, oh, like my T-zone, awful. Everything just awful. So I'm drinking more water right now. I'm just trying to stay hydrated, and we'll see how that goes. But hopefully everyone is doing well today, and if you're not, shit, at least we got tomorrow, right? Or we can hope so. So let's get to it, and I hope to see you tomorrow, and I hope I've got some good news for you lot, and I hope I've got some some progression. As as I now have to hold myself accountable to these videos, I don't want to come tomorrow and say, oh, I didn't really work that hard, or I didn't get the thing that I needed to get done. Tomorrow I got the newsletter to post. I got my podcast to upload with Jenny. Jenny used to work with us. I've got, what else do I have to do? I've got to get this case study site down tonight so I can set it up for tomorrow, or maybe I should do the podcast tonight and then set. See, these are the things I'm thinking about. There's just shit to do, and because you lot have now heard it, if I come back tomorrow and I've not achieved them, shit. Well, I am a failure for the day. I'll figure it out, but I don't really want to feel that way. I want to feel like a winner, like I said. So yeah, it's been lovely, and this is day 5 of 0 to 100k a month in revenue, that is, and fine mediocrity, man. Take it easy.